Hello?
Good to see you again, Claire. We've got unfinished business.
So Resident Evil has always showcased many prominent psychopaths during its run, some obsessed with their research, others obsessed with power and immortality. Well, in the case in Resident Evil 2, we're introduced to a very dark character, so much so that he can be deemed as very controversial in today's standards. But what makes this character so terrifying is not the power-hungry nature of the regular villains in this series, it's not the typical heinous acts that they commit to others, no, it's the fact that this antagonist is very much grounded and could pass as someone who would commit these heinous acts in the real world, given similar circumstances and mindset. So without any more delays, let's delve into the dark and horrifying story of the leader of the Raccoon City Police Department, Chief Brian Irons.
Don't worry, Sherry. It'll be all over soon.
Which in this episode of Explaining Evil, we'll cover his latest iteration and overall storyline from both Resident Evil 2 and RE2 Remake. We'll then backtrack and explain his origins prior to his role as police chief, and we'll even cover his original concept design as a character in the unreleased version of Resident Evil 2. So with that said, let's explain evil with Chief Irons.
You need to learn to listen.
In September 1998, growing signs of turmoil is spreading throughout Raccoon City, with the rumors of many residents complaining of an unusual sickness. This compounded with the attempts of the RPD STARS team members' claim of the T virus that was spreading in the nearby Arklay Mountains just recently, and the Umbrella Corporation's involvement with the creation of said virus. Well, even with a constant warning, the distress from the STARS team members themselves, and the growing sickness that was spreading in the city, you would think that some type of police action would be initiated. Maybe having more staff from the RPD station to investigate into the claims of the T-Virus and the Umbrella Corporation, or maybe actually looking into what Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and the other STARS members were saying after their mission in the Arklay Mountains. Well, all that would have been a good start in an ideal world, though unfortunately for the population of Raccoon City, the RPD was led by the corrupt and evil Chief Irons, which this results into the lack of investigations into the accounts of the sickness and Umbrella, the complete dismissal of the STARS team members' claims of the events in Resident Evil 1, the ordering of the police in the city to turn a blind eye to any claims that would substantiate what the STARS team was telling the public, and to top that off, he disbanded them, destroying all credibility that they had in the public eye, even deeming them as a disgrace with the way they handled their mission in Resident Evil 1. Also, to further cover up what happened in the Arklay Mountains, Chief Irons had a press conference on this issue, stating that a campfire was the cause that destroyed the Spencer Mansion, and that the disbanding of the STARS was due to negligence and use of alcohol during their mission, resulting in the helicopter crash that ensued in the Arklay Forest. So the culmination of lies and pulling of the strings in the background and keeping Umbrella safe in the public eye, this would entail the catastrophic events that would lead into the night of September 29th, 1998, with the arrival of both Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield in Raccoon City during Resident Evil 2, which would now recount the horrifying actions that Chief Irons has committed before and during this game.
I was about to stuff her.
Chief Irons?
So our first encounter with Chief Irons could begin with Claire's interaction with him inside of his office from the original RE2, or the change of encounter from Resident Evil 2 Remake, with the contrast between the two versions is in full display, which we can start from the original RE2, because even though coming off much less threatening at the time when first encountered, some sprinkles of hints of his insanity were revealed by him, with first his obsession with the mayor's daughter, Katherine Warren, 2. His grim stance of everyone turning into a zombie eventually, and 3. His love for taxidermy, which at first glance, you wouldn't really catch on to all the hidden meaning behind his first conversation with Claire, but finding some files in the RPD would reveal what evil actions he would commit prior to our first interaction with him, with the 3 points we just mentioned would all make sense when we read this. September 23rd, it's all over. Those imbeciles from Umbrella have finally done it. Despite all their promises, they've ruined my town. Soon the streets will be infested with zombies. I'm beginning to think that I may even be infected myself. I'll kill everyone in the town if this turns out to be true. September 24th, I was successful in spreading confusion among the police as planned. I made sure that no one from outside will come to help. With the delays in police action, no one will have the chance to escape my city alive. I've seen to it personally that all escape routes from inside the precinct have been cut off as well. There are several survivors still attempting to escape through the lower levels, but I'll make sure no one gets out. September 26. I've had a change of heart about the remaining survivors inside the precinct. I've decided to hunt them down myself. I shot Ed in the back through the heart less than an hour ago. I watched him writhe in pain upon the floor in the pool of his own blood. The expression on his face was positively exquisite. He died with his eyes wide open, staring at me. It was beautiful. I wonder if the mayor's daughter is still alive. I let her escape so I could enjoy hunting her down later. I'm going to enjoy my new trophy. Yes, frozen forever in a pose I choose to give her. To add to this, another file would complement the atrocities he further commits when we read September 26, the Raccoon City Police Department was unexpectedly attacked by zombies. Many have been injured, even more were killed. During the attack, our communications equipment was destroyed and we no longer have contact with the outside. We have decided to carry out an operation with the intent of rescuing any possible survivors as well as to prevent this disaster from spreading beyond Raccoon City. The details of the operation are as follows. Security of armaments and ammunition. Chief Irons has voiced concern regarding the issue of terrorism due to the series of recent unresolved incidents. On the very day before the zombies attack, he made the decision to relocate all weapons to scattered intervals throughout the building as a temporary measure to prevent their possible seizure. Unfortunately, this decision has made it very difficult for us to locate all ammunition cache. It has become our top priority to recover these scattered munitions. This file further substantiates Chief Irons' actions during this time, which would lead to the downfall of the police department. But even then, prior to his mental breakdown, files from his secretary would reveal more about this crazy madman. April 6th, I accidentally moved one of the stone statues on the second floor when I leaned against it. When the chief found out about it, he was furious. I swear the guy nearly bit my head off, screaming at me never to touch a statue again. If it's so important, then maybe he shouldn't have put it out there in the open like that. April 7th, I heard that all the art pieces from the chief's collection are rare items, literally worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know which is a bigger mystery, where he finds those tacky things or where he's getting the money to pay for them. May 10th, I wasn't surprised to see the chief come in today with yet another large picture frame in his hands. This time, it was a really disturbing painting depicting a nude person being hanged. I was appalled by the expression on the chief's face as he leered at the painting. Why anyone would consider something like that to be a work of art is beyond my comprehension. June 8th, as I was straightening up the chief's room, he burst through the door with a furious look on his face. It's only been 2 months since I've started working here, but that's the second time I've seen him like this. The last time was when I bumped into that statue, only this time, he looked even more agitated than ever. I seriously thought for a moment that he was going to hurt me. June 15th, I finally discovered what the chief has been hiding all along. If he finds out that I know, my life will be in serious danger. It's getting late already. I'm just going to have to take this one day at a time.
If you just hadn't dropped that fucking thing, I could let you go.
So after reading that file, it was mentioned on how Chief Irons was able to afford all that expensive art pieces he's collected, which was answered when we find out that he had a direct connection with William Birkin, the umbrella scientist who created the G virus, which was revealed that Chief Irons would receive orders from William, ranging from the continued cover-up of the umbrella's illegal activities in the city, to keeping anyone from investigating into his research with the G virus, or eliminating any suspicious activities that goes on in the city that could implicate William or Umbrella. And of course, Chief Irons would be rewarded very well monetarily, explaining how he was able to afford the art collection that he had. Lastly, in this original version of Chief Irons in Resident Evil 2, the final encounter with him would reveal the truth about his dealings with Umbrella and the viral research they've been conducting.
So you've made it this far. Not bad, girl. But I'm not letting anyone leave my town. Everyone's gonna die.
Calm down, Chief. What happened?
Shut up! You couldn't possibly understand what's happened. Those monsters from Umbrella have destroyed my beautiful town. How could they do that to me after everything I've done for them?
So it's true. You have been working with Umbrella. Then you must know about the G-Virus. What is it? Tell me!
If you must know, it's the agent that can turn humans into the ultimate bioweapons. Superior to the T-Virus in every way. Dr. William Birkin is the genius behind the project.
William Birkin?
I'm sure you've already seen his little girl running around here somewhere. Sherry, isn't it? In case you haven't already figured it out, the monster that's been tearing my precinct apart is yet another product of the G-Virus. An ultimate bioweapon. Umbrella must be trying to cover its tracks. But if I have to go, I'm going to take you with me. What the?
Sherry? I've been looking everywhere for you, Sherry. Brave little girl to leave your house in the middle of this mess. On the ground, hands behind your head.
You can't be serious.
On the ground, now. Sherry, tie your hands.
Why are you doing this?
Shut up. Tie her. Okay then. You tie her up now, or she dies.
What's this all about?
Child endangerment, for starters. Sherry, come here.
What are you gonna do to her?
None of your fucking business.
If you hurt her, I swear to God, my brother is stars and I will.
Sherry, get over here. What's your name? What's your fucking name?
Claire!
Sherry, you come with me now, or say goodbye to Claire.
Okay, I'll go. You better be taking me to my mom.
Absolutely.
Don't listen to him, he's full of shit.
So from that opening alone, this newest iteration of Chief Irons is definitely not holding back in terms of the vile actions. For one, his crazed goal of wanting to take Sherry from Claire, the use of manipulative tactics when holding Claire hostage, forcing Sherry to make a difficult decision, and all in all, he's not hiding the fact that he's a complete psycho at this point. But what's more sickening about this version of Brian Irons is the details he's written in his taxidermy file. White-tailed deer, male, approximately 6 years old, place of capture, Arklay Mountains, length 6'1", weighs 353 pounds. Pleased with how it turned out, but I'm getting tired of working on these puny things. Maybe time to move on to more challenging animals. Siberian tiger, male, approximately 4 years old, place of capture, Kabrovsky Krai, length 9'6", weighs 529 pounds. I nearly came when I sliced his yellow belly open and his warm guts spilled out. I still smell of wild beasts. This is life. Pig, female, 22 years old, place of capture, Raccoon City, length 5'3", weighs 110 pounds. The specimen's body is soft, sweet, and white all over, and it's all mine forever.
Ah, you little shit!
So the last portion of that note references Katherine Warren and his sick obsession with her. But to make matters worse, the most absolute vile thing that he does in this game is the way he terrorized Sherry at the orphanage area, hunting down the little girl throughout the building. And as a quick point, did you know that Chief Irons was actually the director of the orphanage? So putting two and two together, we can make a solid conclusion as to why he was even part of the orphanage. And the fact that this place is controlled by the Umbrella Corporation makes things worse for those innocent people living in there.
Let me go!
So looking back into the origins of Chief Irons was pretty interesting. The fact that he already exhibited some of the same psychotic tendencies from an early age was only substantiated with his later actions in his adult life, because he was known to capture and torture little animals for his pleasure, but the more egregious crimes he would commit were in his early adult life, being known to have been arrested during his time as a university student. This evidence was found with Chris Redfield's investigation into the police chief prior to the events of Resident Evil 2, with the latter portion of the file stating, regarding Mr. Brian Irons, chief of the Raccoon City Police Department, Mr. Irons has allegedly received large sum of funds in bribes from Umbrella Inc. over the last 5 years. He was apparently involved in the cover-up of the Mansion Lab case, along with several other incidences which Umbrella appears to have a direct involvement. Mr. Irons has been arrested under suspicion of rape on 2 separate counts during his years as a university student. He underwent psychiatric evaluation as a result of the charges, but was released due to circumstantial evidence, as well as his phenomenal academic standing. As such, extreme caution is advised when dealing with him. And finally, before we end this video, a small fact needs to be known that could be a small redeeming detail in regards to the character of Chief Irons. Because did you know that in the first iteration of Resident Evil 2, Chief Irons wasn't the vile and evil character we saw him to be over the years? Instead, he was mostly confined to one of the offices inside the police station due to some injury, and mostly encouraged the survival of the protagonist, very similar to the role of Marvin Branagh.
Save yourself.
But even with that small glimmer of light that was in this early version of Chief Irons, in the end, what we got was one of the most evil characters in this series instead, making him a perfect character for this week's episode of Explaining Evil. Anyways, thank you guys so much, and if you guys want more content like this, then please feel free to watch this video here for more Explaining Evil episodes. Anyways, again, thank you guys so much, and this is DeVuH, and I'll see you guys on the next video.
It'll be all over soon.